Hello everybody and welcome to this quick tip from the Manager's Resource Handbook. You can visit us on the web at www.managersresourcehandbook.com for all sorts of tools, tips, and advice from other managers. Our goal is to help managers and businesses succeed through our experience. My name is Tim and we're going to be talking today about how to justify an increase in your staff. And this is easily one of the most frustrating things for a manager, and that's always feeling like you're understaffed, not having enough people or enough hours in the day to get things done. And it's easily one of those things that just really upsets people, and it just seems like it's always on the top of your mind, and you can never seem to get an approval to get one more person or whatever the case may be. So we'll be talking about that today. But before we get to that, let's just talk about a couple reasons as to why getting staff is such a hard thing. And the first reason is financially, people represent the largest expense for a company. And it's not just the salary, right? It's the salary, it's the benefits, it's getting another computer, it's getting another set of licenses for software, all sorts of things that you may not think about. So usually they say about anywhere from say 30 to 50% over the actual salary of the employee is what they cost because of all those additional costs and expenses. So people are very expensive. And then secondly, many managers actually fail to critically evaluate what they need and the type of help they actually require. So, for example, say it's October, you're looking to get some help for the next few months, especially to help pack boxes in your shipping department for the holidays. But a lot of managers fail to really say, hey, I don't need full-time employees. I just need 2 months worth of labor to help me. And unfortunately, unless you've put together real rock-solid justification, business leaders aren't really they're not going to bite, right? They're not going to want to add that cost unless you really explain what you're looking for and why you need it, okay? So the following slides, you can download them for free at our website, again, managersresourcehandbook.com. So you can download them there if you want, but this is basically a fictitious example, but certainly I've gone through this type of thing many times in my career, and so when it comes to adding staff to my teams, I've kind of put a similar business case together. After each slide, we'll talk about the type of information that's there and why we presented it. So without further ado, today we're going to be talking about the future state of Acme IT Services, and this is a fictitious company, but just for the purposes of our discussion, we've given it a name. Today our goal is to talk about improving customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction. So let's start by looking at 3 data points. We have a stated company initiative to improve our customer service scores by 10%. Last year we were at 73%. This year we want to be at 83%. Secondly, last year's employee survey scored employee satisfaction at 64%, which really isn't very good. It's pretty poor, actually. Our third data point is that Project Fireside overran budget by 17% and schedule by 20% due to resource limitations. So here's why I put these things here, right? The first thing there is to tie whatever you're talking about to some sort of key goal that the company has. In this case, it's improving customer satisfaction scores. The second thing is just stating facts, right? Using facts to say that indisputable data suggests that there's a need for action, right? 64% employee satisfaction. No business leader wants to see that 64% of their employees are happy, right? So obviously there's a need for action there. And then lastly, the third point here really highlights that there's an example of the impact felt by the business as a result of the staffing levels. And in this case, some project, maybe a main project, overran budget, and then also exceeded schedule by 20% and was late because of staffing levels. So, these are obviously points that you want to kind of just put forth that allow business leaders to say, okay, I see some data there. So let's talk about the current state of Acme IT Services and look at it through the lens of a few different people. So our customers basically have told us that that we are slower than desired in our response time. They believe we're unable to accommodate changes quickly. So in other words, if they want If their requirements state X and then later on they change to Y, it takes us a really long time to really accommodate that change. And some of our customers have even gone so far as to say that Acme employees always seem tired. For example, one customer called and said, "Hey, I was really glad your employee sent that over last night, but it was at 11 o'clock at night. Why are your employees working at 11 o'clock at night? Doesn't seem right." From an employee perspective, we've found that our employees feel that they're not effectively supporting the business. They don't feel they're doing a good job. They feel their quality of work is suffering, that they're finding errors. For example, with Project Fireside, the reason we were over budget was because people were making mistakes and they had to go back and be corrected. They feel that there's a lack of focus on internal initiatives. We are solely supporting our customers. Next, employees feel that time for personal development is very, very limited, and they feel that they're working long hours on a regular basis, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. Finally, if we look at it from a business perspective, right, we've got work, we've got new business coming in, so we've got work that exists for adding additional staff. We also are not really building a better organization, we're really just maintaining. We're taking on more work, but we're not really growing with that business. And then we've got insufficient support for other internal teams, right? So there's only so many hours that can be fit into a day, and basically all we're doing is taking care of customers. We're not actually focusing on growing our business in a healthy manner. So let's look at this slide here. There's three things that I've highlighted here. First is, point 4 there says, identify the view your customers have of you, right? So really, what does it imply for future business? If your customers don't have a very good view of you, there is some risk there that will have an impact on you in the future. Pull some information and perspective from employees, right? Again, no business leader wants to see that his or her employees are unhappy. So if you can provide some insight as to what employees have to say about the situation, tie it to things like the product quality, tie it to things like morale or things that they want that are not being given the opportunity to pursue. So you really want to throw some employee feedback in here, and then again from a current state standpoint, look at it from lastly a business perspective, right? When you're asking for resources, you always need to tie it to some sort of business need, right? Keep it to an objective discussion, not subjective, okay? So make sure that there's some sort of factual, things that people will be able to understand and kind of support. Okay, so for the last 6 months, we've collected some we've been tracking time for our employees. We've collected the amount of time they've been putting in each week, and you can see based on the data that we basically are averaging about 800 hours per week or so, when our capacity, if our employees are at a sustainable level of work, are around closer to 680 or so. So basically, 6 months of data shows that we are essentially 3 heads deficient in terms of our capacity. And it's a very good point to make here that these hours are strictly going to supporting projects and customers. They're not going towards internal development, improving our processes and standards, improving some of our methods and techniques, really building the organization. It's purely sustaining. Okay, so in this slide, I can't emphasize enough that data is your number one friend when it comes to asking for resources. If your company does track time formally, then go pull data. You want it to be a significant amount of time, not just 2 weeks or maybe a month, but you want to show that it's a trend. You want to show that it's a condition. It's not just a spike because of some big project or something like that. You want to show that it's a kind of an ongoing issue. Okay, if you don't track time formally, you as the manager need to really take time and either create a spreadsheet, have your employees fill it in each week, something like that, but collect the data somehow. And I'll tell you what, if you don't track time formally and all of a sudden you go in front of an executive and say, hey, here's the data that we don't track, but I've collected it, that's going to be really, really powerful. So it's important that you really do some thorough analysis and you look at trends. You don't just look at a short period of time. Okay, so let's look at the current state relative to where we want to go in terms of a future state. So our current state, we're slow to respond to customers. So to get better, our future state will look like, something like we want to turn around quotes to new customers in 1 day. And we want to decrease our hold time by customers by 20% when they're on the phone. So, tying back into the whole objective to, improve our customer satisfaction scores, we want to be able to turn quotes around faster and decrease phone call time by 20%. Next, right now we're in a perpetual mode of firefighting. We really want to get towards a state where we're improving the stability. We're able to weather storms easily rather than always sort of be on thin ice with some sort of major issue that pops up. And we want to improve our internal development. We want to be able to improve our processes, our techniques, our methods to make ourselves faster and more efficient and better, and overall just more competitive as a company. And then from a current state situation with respect to our people, right now we've got a weakened state of quality of work. We've got poor employee satisfaction scores and consistently long hours, as the data shows. From a future state standpoint, we really want to improve the engagement and morale of our staff, and we want to improve the work-life balance of our people. Right? We want to reduce turnover. We want to make people feel like they're doing a good job. So in this slide, what I've done is I've really compared the current state to the future state, where we're going. Right? So it's important to show that there is a transition, and to meet that transition, it's not just, or to bridge that gap, it's not just a matter of simply, just changing something. It's a matter of taking action to deliver, new tangible results. So again, you look at it from a few different perspectives: customers, the business, and people. Not just through one lens, but look through it. Look at the issue through multiple lenses. So if we look at the future state, what we want our customers' experience to be is an improved. We want them to see a improved response time, minimal waiting when they're on the telephone. We want to be able to quickly react to changes as the customer needs us to do, and we want to have our customers interact with happier employees who aren't tired because they got home at 8 o'clock the night before and they got in at 7 a.m. But we want our frontline staff there to be energetic and have our customers have a good experience. We want our employees to feel like they're doing a good job. We want to make sure that our employees feel like we value them doing a good job. We want to allow them to pursue, development opportunities and career growth. We want to allow our employees to dedicate some time to internal initiatives. Say they've got some great ideas to make something better. We want to make sure that we allow that in our staffing level. And we want to be able to create an environment of stability, not a firefighting, perpetual firefighting mode. And then from a business perspective, our goal is really to improve customer retention and referrals by, delivering better customer support. We want to increase employee retention and maintaining those relationships between customers and employees. We want to hold on to our employees through a better work-life balance. This is also a financial benefit by not having to recruit and hire more employees over time as others leave. And we want to focus on internal growth that leads to ourselves to innovation and competitive advantage. We really want to focus using our employees' knowledge to drive our growth and strengthen us as a company. So here on this slide, I'm really trying to outline things that will resonate with, again, business leaders. They want to, they're going to want to see that the benefit of adding staff is an improved customer experience. We want to highlight that employees will be happier because they'll be working a little bit less and they can have some more time to really do a good job. So it's more of a rewarding experience for employees. And then again, from a business standpoint, that there are some benefits. Again, focusing on benefits. Think of it as a return on the investment. Okay, so again, tying benefits in a future state and showing that there will be some enhancements. It's not just more people, but there's actually something good coming with it. So let's talk about implementation. to implement the future state, our goal here is really to readily support the business needs through improved responsiveness and employee effectiveness. Okay, so we've got three recommended additions to our staff based on the data we saw earlier. The first is our goal here is to decrease quoting time to customers by adding one pricing specialist focused on strictly new accounts. So this is adding a specialist to focus on turning around quotes to customers. The second hire we're looking to add is really targeting an improved customer experience. And this person will be a customer service rep, somebody who's answering the phones, handling any customer questions or concerns. And then, although there's no specific additional, role that we're looking for adding, we want to reduce the lost productivity time of administrative tasks on our current staff overall. So we want to add an assistant to support the entire department. So basically things like filing expense reports, handling various administration things. We want to have just a central admin that handles that and takes that 5% of time away from everybody that they spend, clicking the mouse for just, silly actions. We want our pricing people to be pricing. We want our software people to be developing software. We want our technical team to be answering the phone and providing technical support for customers. We don't want them doing administrative time. So we want to get an assistant to support the entire team. So in this slide, what I'm trying to do is essentially identify that, taking that data that we showed before of about on average, 3 heads worth of people that's, missing from the group, and where we want to put them. I don't just want to say I need 3 people. You want to be able to say I need 3 people, and here's where I need them and why I need them there. So really, again, it's a business discussion, right? It's a business case. You want to show that you've done enough homework to say that, hey, here are the 3 areas I think, as the manager or the leader, where I could use the help, and then what it's going to, again, business, think about it in terms of benefit. Here's what it's going to give me. So if we look at it from an org chart standpoint, you see the 3 green boxes as to where these employees will sit. As we mentioned, one will be an admin who supports the overall organization and supporting and taking on some of those administrative activities. We want to add a customer service rep to improve the customer experience and to reduce call times. And we want to add a pricing specialist, someone who can help turn around quotes for new accounts. So in this slide, what I'm trying to show is, you want to be very specific as to where that help is needed. You don't just want to say, you need 3, as I mentioned before. You want to say, I need 3, and this is where the most effective place is to put those employees. You want to make sure it's clear to show that you've thought about how they are going to fit in the organization, perhaps in terms of skill levels, what sub-team they might be on, what function they might perform. Perhaps number of years of experience that you're looking for, but you want to be very specific to illustrate that you've really thought about it and it makes sense. So in terms of some remaining questions, first of all, can we plan in our staffing level to allow 1 week of professional development for each employee? Each employee, we want to allow them to grow professionally and develop skills. So can we allow for 1 week a year, perhaps, to attend some sort of training or seminar of their choosing? What is the resourcing plan for supporting the 5-year goals? So the company's got some initiatives over the next 5 years. What staff do we need to have now in order to deliver against those goals that we want, that place where we want to be in 5 years? And then lastly, with new product launches coming next year, will the programming team need some additional capacity? You want to kind of frame the discussion here around, kind of alluding to future activities. So, for example, does the programming team need additional capacity, recognizing what's coming down the pipe? So in this slide, what I've basically done is try to just leave, identify that there's some loose ends, right? So it's acknowledged that you don't have every answer. It gives the audience sort of a natural point at which they can ask questions and provide any feedback. Even if the feedback is something like, hey, I know you're asking for 3, but do you think we can get away with 2? It's a good conversation it's a good way to start having a conversation about, okay, got it, I got the point, I got the data, I see what you're saying. let's have a conversation about what we really want to do. And it basically allows whoever you're presenting to, your boss, maybe an executive, whoever it is, to kind of say, there's a couple other things I'd like you to look at, and that's the point at which you've sort of locked, you've gotten some alignment. They may not give you all three. They may not just say, okay, no problem. They're not likely to do that, whatsoever. But it at least is going to give you information, feedback as to where perhaps the concerns are, maybe some other considerations they'd like you to look at. And really just to kind of lead it to the next step. Really, the objective of the remaining question slide is to get you to the next conversation, which is, hey, I've taken all the actions, I've taken all the notes, went back through the information, here's an update to what I think we want to do. So this is really a lead-in to getting you in front of them for the next conversation. So it's not just a brand new topic, it's something that you're following up on. Okay, so that does it. So that was our example of a presentation about how you might want to justify additional staff. Again, you can download this presentation for free on our website at managersresourcehandbook.com under the Tools and Templates page. Again, this is a fictitious company, but hopefully this example shows you some of the information that you're going to want to prepare. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time here at the Quick Tip.